KQTDC was honored to be a part of Story District's Outspoken event. It was a beautiful virtual night of heartfelt and hilarious true stories by LGBTQ plus voices in celebration of DC Pride. I told my story of finding and building a strong, loving queer Korean community here in the DMV area. Check the description for the link to the recording of the event. I hope you enjoy the story.
So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, coming to the stage, the one, the only, the divine, the delectable. Put your hands together for one of our next storytellers and who's a part of our partner organization, KQT DC, the one, the only, Chris Kim.
So in 2016, I got a text message from a friend who was telling me about an LGBT Korean conference that was happening in Northern Virginia. And I was in shock. I didn't really believe it because I had never heard of an event like that before. And so I told him I didn't know if I was going to go. And I had my doubts because it was also at a church and I was afraid that it would be homophobic. And so eventually I changed my mind and I decided to go. And as I was driving there, I was really hoping that I would meet other LGBT Korean people. And I definitely did not want it to be a homophobic space at all. And when I got there, I realized that it was organized by an organization called Korean American Rainbow Parents. And I had never heard of this organization before. And this was actually the first time that I was meeting so many LGBT Korean people. And it was a safe space. We were each telling each other our stories. There were seminars, there were small groups, and it was just so beautiful. And I was really sad that I was leaving because throughout my entire childhood, Korean people would always tell me that there are no Korean LGBT people, that there was this erasure. But this event completely dispelled that. And it definitely was not true. And luckily, after that event was over, a group of us continued to meet on a monthly basis. And about 2 years later, in 2018, a group of us went to New York City for KQTCon, which is the Korean Queer and Transgender conference. And it was one of the largest, if not the largest, queer Korean conference. There were over 200 queer Korean people there, and it was an amazing, beautiful event. I was crying through the entire weekend. I was inspired and moved, and I felt so safe and so connected. And when that event ended, the group of us who had went, we came back to the DMV area. And we were so inspired, we decided to mobilize. We decided to create an organization, and we called it KQTDC, which is the Korean Queer and Transgender Organization of DC. And one of our first events was going to to play Pungmul, which is traditional Korean percussion, at the 2018 Capitol Pride Parade. And we were there performing with other queer API organizations, Kush DC, Aqua DC, and Apex. And we had gathered in DC at the morning of the parade. We all wore black shirts. I wore a black bandana because it was hot. And we all had our instruments ready. Echo, who was our leader, had her kwengari, which is a small, round, metallic instrument that plays loud, high-pitched noises, and it signals to us which melody to play. I was playing puk, which is a large round drum. A couple people were playing changu, which is a double-sided drum. And then one person was playing ching, which is a gong-like instrument. And before we started to march, we had a pep talk. We knew that the judges of the Capitol Pride Parade were judging each organization as they were marching in different categories. And one of the categories was Best Showcase. And I really, really wanted to win Best Showcase because I'm just a naturally competitive person and I just wanted to win. But also, this was really momentous because this was one of our first times playing Puma in public and for the Pride Parade. And so we started marching, and Echo gave her signal. And we knew at that point that we were at the judges' table. And so we gave it our all. We were spinning and jumping and running and creating formations. We created a spiral and unraveled the spiral. And the crowd was going wild. They were cheering, they were laughing, they were dancing with us. And in that moment, I felt ecstasy because I felt this deep connection. I felt connected to the KQTDC members. I felt connected to the other queer API organizations, and I felt connected to the crowd because we were all there together celebrating our pride as LGBT people. And so after the parade, I was checking Facebook every day, multiple times a day. I was checking the Capitol Pride Facebook page just to see who had won. And about a week later, I found it, and it said, Best Showcase, KQTDC, Aqua, Kush, Apex. And I was like, yes! And in that moment, I felt seen and heard and acknowledged, but also celebrated for who I was. We as an organization and we as queer people were being celebrated. And it was so special that we were able to do it together with other queer API organizations.